Ambassador Thomas Reynolds straightened his formal uniform as he stepped onto the gleaming transport that would take him to the Galactic Council chambers. Today was supposed to be routine, another boring session of trade agreements and minor dispute resolutions between the hundreds of species that made up the Galactic Alliance. Earth had only joined 50 years ago, making humans the newest members of this ancient coalition. Reynolds had a bad feeling about today. The emergency summons had come without explanation, and the Council rarely changed its schedule. As his transport glided through the massive space station that served as the Alliance headquarters, he noticed unusual activity. Security drones were everywhere, and representatives from other worlds seemed to be avoiding him. "Ambassador, we've arrived," said his aide, breaking his train of thought. Reynolds stepped into the Grand Council chamber. The room was a massive dome with thousands of seats arranged in rising tiers, each occupied by representatives from different worlds. The ceiling displayed a real-time map of the galaxy, with Alliance worlds glowing in peaceful blue. As Reynolds took his seat, he noticed the central platform was already occupied by High Chancellor Sol of the Solari Empire. The Solari were among the oldest species in the galaxy, tall, silver-skinned beings with 4 arms and eyes that shimmered like opals. They had been the peacekeepers of the galaxy for over 3 millennia. "This emergency session of the Galactic Council is now in session," announced the council speaker, a small, reptilian being. "High Chancellor Sol has requested immediate attention on a matter of grave importance." Sol stepped forward, his silver skin reflecting the light dramatically. "Esteemed representatives of the Alliance, for 3,000 years, we have maintained peace across our galaxy. Today, I stand before you with a heavy heart to announce that this peace is threatened." A murmur spread through the chamber. Reynolds felt a chill run down his spine. "The species known as humans," Sol continued, pointing directly at Reynolds, "has demonstrated an unprecedented rate of technological advancement and territorial expansion. Their military capabilities have doubled in the last decade alone. Our projections indicate that within 50 years, they will possess technology that threatens the safety of all Alliance worlds." Reynolds stood up abruptly. "This is absurd. Earth has followed every Alliance regulation. We've shared our advancements openly." "Not all of them," Sol replied coldly. "Our intelligence has discovered secret weapons research facilities on Mars and Europa. You're developing quantum-based weapons systems that could destabilize the very fabric of space-time." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Reynolds tried to protest, but the speaker called for order. "The Solari Empire, as guarantor of galactic peace, hereby declares a state of war with Earth and all human colonies," Sol announced, his voice echoing across the chamber. "We demand unconditional surrender within 1 standard month. If these terms are not met, we will be forced to take military action to neutralize the human threat." Reynolds couldn't believe what he was hearing. "High Chancellor, there must be some misunderstanding. The research you're referring to is for defense only, and fully within Alliance guidelines. The Council will now vote on whether to support the Solari position," the speaker announced, ignoring Reynolds' protests. One by one, the representatives voted. Some abstained, but most sided with the Solari. Centuries of trust in the Solari as peacekeepers outweighed their brief relationship with humans. "The motion carries," the speaker declared. "Earth is hereby placed under military sanction. Ambassador Reynolds, you are granted safe passage to return to your world and communicate these terms to your government." Captain James Walker stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, Earth's newest battle cruiser, watching the emergency broadcast from the council meeting. Around him, his crew sat in stunned silence. "Sir," his communications officer finally spoke, "we're receiving emergency recall orders for all Earth vessels. Command is initiating Defense Protocol Omega." Walker nodded grimly. He was a veteran of the Mars conflict, humanity's only real military engagement in space, but that had been against human separatists, not an alien empire with technology thousands of years more advanced than Earth's. "Set course for Earth," Maximum speed, he ordered, and get me a secure line to Admiral Garcia. Within hours, Walker was seated in the Emergency Operations Center beneath the Rocky Mountains, along with the highest-ranking military and political leaders on Earth. The room was tense as Admiral Garcia displayed the known Solari military capabilities on the main screen. They have over 10,000 warships, compared to our fleet of 200, Garcia explained. Their weapons technology can destroy planets. We have no conventional defense against such power. President Morgan, a normally confident woman, looked shaken. And negotiations. Ambassador Reynolds is still trying, Garcia replied. But the Solari aren't known for changing their minds. We have 29 days left before their deadline. What about evacuation? Someone asked. To where? Walker spoke up. The Solari control the jump gate network. There's nowhere in the galaxy we can hide. The room fell silent again until Dr. Emma Reeves, head of Earth's Advanced Defense Research, cleared her throat. There might be an option, she said quietly. My team has been working on something unusual. It's not a conventional weapon, but it might give us a chance. All eyes turned to her. It's a quantum field manipulator, she explained. It doesn't shoot or destroy anything directly. Instead, it changes probabilities. Changes what? President Morgan asked. Luck, Dr. Reeves said simply. It makes the impossible possible, statistically speaking. We've only tested it on a small scale, but the results have been promising. The problem is, we need more time to scale it up. How much time? Walker asked. 3 months, minimum, she replied. Walker exchanged glances with Admiral Garcia. We have 1 month. Then we need to buy time, the president decided. Captain Walker, I'm assigning you to protect Dr. Reeves' research facility. Admiral, prepare our fleet to delay the Solari as long as possible if they attack. The meeting continued late into the night as humanity prepared for a war they couldn't possibly win through conventional means. 2 days later, Captain Walker arrived at the secret research facility hidden deep inside an asteroid in the belt. Dr. Reeves met him at the docking bay. Captain, I hope you brought coffee, she said, looking like she hadn't slept in days. We've got a lot of work to do. Walker followed her through the facility, where hundreds of scientists and engineers worked frantically. Will it really work? He asked quietly. Dr. Reeves stopped and turned to him. Her eyes were tired but determined. The thing about humans, Captain, is that we've always been good at beating the odds. This just gives us a better chance at it. She pointed to a strange device in the center of the main lab that seemed to shimmer between existing and not existing. And right now, that's all we've got. As Walker looked at the quantum device, he couldn't help but wonder if the Solari had made a terrible mistake. They thought they were declaring war on a minor species. They had no idea what humans were capable of when pushed into a corner. The 3,000-year peace was ending. But perhaps so was the Solari's unchallenged dominance of the galaxy. The asteroid research base shook violently as Captain Walker made his way through the cramped corridors. Not from an attack. Thankfully, the Solari hadn't discovered them yet, but from the power surges of Dr. Reed's experiments. For 2 weeks, the research team had been working nonstop, pushing the quantum field manipulator to its limits. Another failure, Walker asked as he entered the main lab, where smoke was clearing from a recent test. Dr. Reeves pushed her glasses back up her nose and shook her head. Not exactly. The field held for 12 seconds this time. That's 4 seconds longer than yesterday. Walker looked at the device in the center of the room. It resembled a metal sphere surrounded by rings that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Sometimes, looking at it made his eyes hurt, as if his brain couldn't quite process what he was seeing. 12 seconds won't help much in a battle, he noted. True, Dr. Reeves agreed, but we discovered something interesting. She waved him over to a screen displaying brain scans. These are from our test subjects. Notice anything unusual about this one? She pointed to a scan labeled Test Subject 7. Walker wasn't a doctor, but even he could see the difference. It's brighter, more active. Exactly. Subject 7 could maintain the field longer than anyone else. When we looked into why, we found that humans have a unique neural structure that can somehow interface with quantum systems. It's subtle, but it's there, and Subject 7 has a particularly strong version of this trait. Walker frowned. So some humans are better at this than others. Yes, but here's the really interesting part. Dr. Reeves pulled up another image showing multiple brain scans connected by lines of energy. When we linked multiple subjects together, the effect didn't just add up, it multiplied. 3 connected subjects could maintain a field 30 times longer than one alone. For the first time in weeks, Walker felt a spark of hope. And if we connected hundreds, thousands? Dr. Reeves smiled tiredly. Now you're getting it, Captain. In the command center aboard the Solari flagship Eternal Justice, General Vex studied the holographic display of Earth's solar system. His 4 arms moved constantly, adjusting the view, zooming in on various planets and moons. 17 days until the deadline. He noted to his second-in-command, Commander Lyra. Have the humans shown any sign of preparing for surrender? None, General. Lyra replied, her silver skin catching the light as she moved. In fact, our scouts report increased activity around their military bases. They appear to be preparing for war. Vex made a sound that might have been a laugh. Foolish creatures. Our smallest destroyer could obliterate their entire home fleet. There is one anomaly to report, Lyra said hesitantly. Our probes detected unusual energy readings from the asteroid belt, not matching any known human technology. Show me, Vex demanded. The display shifted to show a cluster of asteroids. One of them pulsed with an unfamiliar energy signature that seemed to fade in and out of the sensors. What is that? Vex asked. Unknown, General. It's like nothing we've ever seen. The energy pattern defies conventional physics. Vex narrowed his opalescent eyes. I don't like unknowns, Commander. Send a scout ship to investigate, quietly. I want to know what the humans are hiding before we crush them. Back on Earth, panic had given way to desperate preparation. Every shipyard worked at full capacity. Civilian vessels were being retrofitted with weapons. Training centers operated around the clock, preparing soldiers for a war unlike any humanity had faced before. In the presidential bunker beneath New Washington, Captain Walker reported the latest findings from the asteroid base. Dr. Reeves believes we can create a working quantum field that could protect at least part of our fleet, he explained to the assembled leaders. But we need volunteers, thousands of them, with the right neural patterns. Admiral Garcia frowned. You're talking about using human beings as what? Components in a weapon. More like a shield, Walker corrected. The volunteers would be in special chambers, linked to the system. Their brains would help shape the quantum field, making the impossible possible. Meaning what exactly? President Morgan asked. Walker struggled to explain. Imagine you fire 1,000,000 bullets at a target. Statistically, some number will hit, some will miss. The quantum field changes those statistics. Suddenly, most of the bullets miss when they should hit. Engines fail that should work perfectly. Shields hold when they should collapse. It sounds like magic, someone muttered. Clark's third law, Dr. Reeves said as she entered the room, looking exhausted but determined. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And this is definitely advanced. How many volunteers do you need? The president asked. To protect a single battle group. At least 500 compatible individuals. To shield the entire planet. Millions. The room fell silent as the magnitude of the task sank in. We don't have time to test millions of people, Admiral Garcia pointed out. We don't need to, Dr. Reeves replied. We've identified genetic markers that indicate compatibility. A simple blood test can tell us who has the potential. President Morgan stood up. Then that's what we'll do. Effective immediately, I'm authorizing a worldwide screening program. Every citizen will be tested. Those with compatibility will be asked to volunteer. Asked? General Reed questioned. Yes, asked. The President confirmed firmly. I won't force anyone into this, but I believe in humanity's will to survive. People will step up. 3 days later, the first volunteer group arrived at the asteroid base. 500 men and women from all walks of life, all testing high on the compatibility scale. They were escorted to a new section of the base where hundreds of special chambers had been constructed. Walker watched as Dr. Reeves explained the process to the volunteers. You'll each be in a separate chamber, but your minds will be linked through the quantum network, she told them. You won't lose consciousness or control. You'll still be you. But together, you'll be creating something greater than any of us could alone. A young woman raised her hand. Will it hurt? Dr. Reeves hesitated. We don't know for certain. In our small tests, subjects reported strange sensations, like being in 2 places at once, or seeing possibilities branch out before them, but no actual pain. What do we do in there? Asked an older man. Do we need to think certain thoughts, or just stay calm and open? Dr. Reeves said. The system will guide you. Your natural human ability to perceive quantum states will do the rest. As the volunteers were led to their chambers, Walker pulled Dr. Reeves aside. You didn't tell them about Subject 7's nosebleeds, he whispered. Dr. Reeves looked troubled. Those were from prolonged exposure. These volunteers will rotate shifts. Besides, we've improved the interface. Walker wasn't convinced, but he understood the stakes. How soon can we test the full system? Tomorrow, she replied. Just in time, too. Why? What's happened? Dr. Reeves looked grim. Our long-range sensors detected a Solari scout ship entering the belt 6 hours ago. They're looking for us, Captain. The clock is ticking faster than we thought. In the distance, the first volunteers entered their chambers, not knowing they were about to become part of humanity's greatest and strangest weapon, one that might redefine the very laws of possibility. The Solari scout ship Silent Observer glided through the asteroid belt, its advanced cloaking technology making it nearly invisible to standard sensors. On its bridge, Commander Trell studied the readings with growing concern. The energy signature is stronger now, he reported to his crew of 12 elite Solari scouts. It's coming from that large asteroid ahead. The asteroid looked ordinary enough, a lumpy rock about 20 kilometers across. But the sensors showed something very different, pulses of energy that seemed to bend reality around them. Prepare a detailed scan, Trell ordered. I want to know exactly what the humans are hiding before we report back to General Vex. The Silent Observer moved closer, its scanners probing the asteroid's surface. Suddenly, the ship's systems flickered, like a brief power surge had passed through them. What was that? Trell demanded. His science officer looked confused. Unknown, Commander. For a moment, our sensors detected thousands of human neural patterns, all connected somehow. That's impossible, Trell said. No human technology can. He never finished his sentence. Without warning, the ship's engines failed completely. The Silent Observer drifted helplessly toward the asteroid's surface. Emergency power, Trell shouted. No response, Commander. Nothing is working. Inside the asteroid base, Captain Walker watched in amazement as the previously cloaked Solari ship appeared on their sensors, dead in space, and drifting toward them. It worked, he whispered, turning to Dr. Reeves, who stood nearby, monitoring the 500 volunteers connected to the quantum field generator. Their ship just failed. Dr. Reeves nodded, her eyes fixed on the readings. The field affected their probability matrix. Systems that had a 1 in a million chance of failing all failed at once. She looked up at Walker. But we can't maintain this for long. The volunteers are already showing strain. Walker nodded. We don't need long. Deploy the capture team. Within minutes, a small human vessel left the asteroid base, heading for the disabled Solari ship. The team boarded without resistance, The Solari crew was too busy trying to restart their systems to notice the humans until it was too late. Commander Trell and his crew were captured without a single shot being fired. "This changes everything," Admiral Garcia said, reviewing the report of the captured Solari scout ship. "We now have access to their technology, their communications, and most importantly, prisoners who can tell us about their fleet movements." The Emergency Council meeting on Earth had a new energy now, a cautious optimism that hadn't been there before. "What did we learn from the prisoners?" President Morgan asked. "The Solari main fleet is still gathering," Walker reported. "But General Vex has grown impatient. He's planning to attack Mars colony in 3 days as a show of force, before the ultimatum deadline." "Mars has 10,000 civilians," someone pointed out. "Exactly," Walker said grimly. "Vex wants to demonstrate what happens to humans who resist." The room fell silent. Finally, Admiral Garcia spoke up. "We have to defend Mars, but our conventional forces don't stand a chance against even a small Solari battle group." All eyes turned to Dr. Reeves. "Can your quantum field protect Mars?" the president asked. Dr. Reeves looked troubled. "The version we tested was localized. It could only affect a small area around the generator. To protect an entire planet, we'd need to scale up dramatically. And we'd need more volunteers, thousands more. The latest testing program has identified over 10,000 compatible individuals on Earth," Walker added. "But getting them all to Mars in 3 days is impossible." "Then we bring the fight to where we're strongest," Admiral Garcia suggested. "We position our ships near the asteroid base, where the quantum field is working. Force the Solari to come to us." "And sacrifice Mars?" the Mars colony representative asked, his voice tight with anger. "No," President Morgan said firmly. "We evacuate as many civilians as possible. Then we prepare a surprise for the Solari when they arrive." 2 days later, a desperate evacuation was underway on Mars. Every available ship shuttled civilians to emergency bunkers deep underground or off-planet entirely. Meanwhile, the UES Defender and 5 other battle cruisers positioned themselves in a defensive formation near the asteroid base, their crews nervously watching as the quantum field generators were installed aboard each ship. On the bridge of the Defender, Captain Walker received the final update. "Evacuation is 60% complete," the communications officer reported. "But we're out of time. Solari fleet detected entering the system." Walker took a deep breath. "Status of the quantum field generators." "Online, Captain. 100 volunteers aboard each ship, linked to the main generator in the asteroid." "And the special package for Mars?" "In position, sir." Walker nodded grimly. "Then we proceed as planned. All ships, battle stations, prepare to engage on my mark." The Solari attack force emerged from faster-than-light travel near Mars. A group of 30 warships, each one more powerful than Earth's entire fleet combined. They moved into attack formation, preparing to demonstrate their overwhelming superiority. Aboard the command ship, General Vex smiled coldly as Mars grew larger on the view screen. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Target their major settlements first." The Solari ships charged their main weapons, preparing to rain destruction on the red planet. But just as they fired, something strange happened. The energy beams that should have devastated the surface instead veered off course, missing their targets completely or hitting empty desert. "What happened?" Vex demanded. "Unknown, General," his weapons officer replied, clearly confused. "The targeting systems report perfect alignment, but the beams, it's as if they chose to go elsewhere." "Impossible. Fire again." The second volley was even less effective. Some beams dissipated harmlessly in the atmosphere. Others collided with each other, creating spectacular light shows, but doing no damage. "General," the sensor officer called out, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the planet's surface, and human ships approaching from the asteroid belt." Vex turned in surprise. "Human ships? They dare to attack us?" He laughed. "This will be even better. We'll destroy their pathetic fleet first, then finish the colony. The 6 human battle cruisers approached, looking tiny compared to the massive Solari warships. "They're in range, General," the weapons officer reported. "Destroy them," Vex ordered casually. The Solari ships fired and missed. Not just 1 or 2 shots, but all of them. Hundreds of energy beams that should have torn through the human ships instead went wide, passing harmlessly through empty space. Meanwhile, the human ships fired their much smaller weapons. By all logic, the powerful Solari shields should have shrugged off such attacks with ease. Instead, the human weapons found tiny weaknesses, slipping through shields that had a 1 in a billion chance of failing at that exact moment. 3 Solari ships erupted in flames. "How is this possible?" Vex roared, watching in disbelief as his perfect attack force began to fall into chaos. "What human trickery is this?" As if in answer, a new energy pattern emerged from Mars itself. The special package Walker had mentioned, a smaller quantum field generator with 200 volunteers who had reached Mars before the evacuation, their combined mental power now creating a protective bubble around the planet. The battle that should have been a simple demonstration of Solari power had turned into a shocking defeat. 7 Solari ships destroyed, the rest damaged and retreating in confusion. Back on the Defender, Captain Walker watched with a mixture of amazement and relief as the Solari fleet fled. "It worked," he said quietly. "It actually worked." But Dr. Reeves looked concerned as she checked the status of the volunteers. "Yes, it worked," she agreed. "But the strain on the volunteers was enormous. We can't maintain fields like this for long battles. And the Solari will be back, with a much larger force next time." Walker nodded grimly. "Then we need more volunteers, and we need to prepare for the real war." Across the solar system, news of the miraculous victory spread like wildfire. Humanity had bloodied the nose of the mighty Solari Empire. The impossible had happened. And somewhere in the vast reaches of space, the main Solari fleet was already on its way, bringing with it the full might of an empire that had never known defeat. The great hall of the Solari High Command fell silent as General Vex finished his report. The defeat at Mars, the first military loss for the Solari in over 1,000 years, had sent shockwaves through the empire. Supreme Commander Orax, the highest military authority in the Solari Empire, stared at Vex with cold, shimmering eyes. Unlike the silver skin of regular Solari, Orax's skin had a golden hue, marking his pure bloodline and high status. "You expect me to believe," Orax said slowly, "that primitive humans defeated our ships through luck?" Vex stood firm despite his humiliation. "Not luck, Supreme Commander. Our science division believes they have developed some form of probability manipulation technology. It defies our understanding of physics." "Impossible," another general scoffed. "No species has ever managed to control quantum probability fields. The energy requirements alone would be—" "The humans have done it," Vex interrupted. "I saw it with my own eyes. Weapons that never missed suddenly missed. Shields that never fail suddenly failed. It was as if reality itself bent around their ships." Orax rose from his throne-like chair, towering over the other Solari. "Then we will bring such overwhelming force that even altered probabilities cannot save them. I am taking personal command of this operation. We will gather the Grand Fleet, 10,000 ships. We will strike their homeworld directly and end this annoying species once and for all." The other generals murmured in agreement. Such a force had not been assembled since the last great galactic war 3 millennia ago. "How soon can the fleet be ready?" Orax asked his logistics officer. 7 days, Supreme Commander." Orax nodded in satisfaction. "The humans have had their moment of false hope. Now they will know true despair." On Earth, the celebration of the Mars victory was tempered by the knowledge that it was only the beginning. Intelligence gathered from the captured Solari ship indicated that the main fleet would arrive within 2 weeks. In the underground command center, Captain Walker studied the latest reports. The quantum field generators had been upgraded based on what they'd learned from the Mars battle, But the fundamental problem remained. They needed more compatible volunteers to power a field strong enough to protect Earth. Dr. Reeves entered the room, looking more exhausted than ever. The global testing program has identified nearly 2 million compatible individuals, she reported. But even with that many, we can only protect major population centers. Rural areas will be exposed. Walker frowned. And the side effects? Dr. Reeves hesitated. Worse than we feared. Extended connection to the field causes neurological stress, headaches, nosebleeds, in some cases seizures. Can we rotate them? Shorter shifts. We're working on it. But there's something else. She lowered her voice. We've discovered that children have much higher compatibility rates than adults. Their developing brains can adapt to the quantum interface more easily, with fewer side effects. Walker's expression darkened. We are not putting children in those chambers. I agree, Dr. Reeves said quickly. I'm just reporting what we found. The president has already ruled it out as an option. Their conversation was interrupted as Admiral Garcia entered the room, followed by an unexpected visitor. Commander Trell, the captured Solari scout leader. His silver hands were bound, but he moved with the natural dignity of his species. Our guest has decided to talk, Garcia announced. Tell them what you told me, Commander. Trell looked at the humans with a mixture of contempt and reluctant respect. The Solari High Command has assembled the Grand Fleet, 10,000 ships, led by Supreme Commander Orax himself. They will arrive in 5 days, not 2 weeks as you believed. Walker exchanged alarmed glances with Dr. Reeves. 5 days. Why are you telling us this? Because I have seen enough to know that this war is a mistake, Trell replied. For 3,000 years, the Solari have maintained peace through strength. But what your species has developed, it changes everything. This war will bring destruction to both our peoples. Then help us end it, Dr. Reeves urged. Tell us how to negotiate with your leaders. Trell made a sound that might have been a bitter laugh. Negotiate? Supreme Commander Orax does not negotiate. He conquers. Your only hope is to convince him that the cost of conquering Earth is too high. How do we do that? Walker asked. Defeat his first wave so completely that even his pride cannot ignore it, Trell said simply, and I will help you do it. 4 days later, Earth's defenses were as ready as they could be. 2 million volunteers were connected to quantum field generators around the world and in the orbital defense platforms. Every available ship had been armed and positioned in defensive formations. At Dr. Reeves' laboratory in the Rocky Mountains, a breakthrough had been made based on information provided by Commander Trell. The Solari used a specific subspace frequency for fleet-wide communications. If they could disrupt that frequency using the quantum field, they might be able to throw the entire Solari attack into chaos. In the command center, President Morgan addressed the world one last time before the battle. People of Earth, tomorrow we face the greatest threat in human history. The Solari Grand Fleet approaches with the intention of wiping our species from the galaxy. They believe their advanced technology and overwhelming numbers guarantee their victory. She paused, her face solemn but determined. But they do not understand what makes humanity special. Throughout our history, we have faced impossible odds. We have stared into the abyss of extinction many times, from natural disasters, from our own wars, from cosmic accidents. Each time, we have survived. Around the world, people gathered in homes, in shelters, in public spaces, watching their president's address. Tomorrow, when you enter the quantum chambers, remember this. You are not just fighting for your own lives, but for the very existence of humanity. Your minds, linked together, will create something never before seen in this galaxy, a shield made not of metal or energy, but of possibility itself. On the bridge of the UES Defender, now the flagship of Earth's small fleet, Captain Walker watched the speech with his crew. Commander Trell stood nearby, still technically a prisoner but now more of an advisor. Your president speaks well, the Solari remarked. But words will not stop Orax's fleet. No, Walker agreed. But 2 million human minds linked together just might. The alarm sounded. The advanced scouts of the Solari fleet had been detected entering the solar system. All ships, battle stations, Walker ordered. Activate quantum field generators. Across Earth and throughout the orbital defenses, the quantum chambers hummed to life. Inside each one, a human volunteer closed their eyes and felt themselves connect to something larger. A vast network of human consciousness that began to bend the very fabric of reality around their planet. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin, and the odds were impossible. But changing the impossible was exactly what humans had learned to do. The Solari Grand Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel just beyond Earth's moon, a vast armada of 10,000 warships that filled the sky like metallic stars. At their center was the massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion, Supreme Commander Orax's flagship that was nearly the size of a small moon. On Earth, billions watched in terror as the night sky filled with enemy ships. In the quantum chambers, 2 million volunteers felt their hearts race as the neural interfaces connected them to the greatest defensive network ever created. Aboard the UES Defender, Captain Walker and his crew prepared for a battle they could not possibly win through conventional means. Quantum field at full strength, the operations officer reported. All volunteers connected. Walker nodded, his face grim. And the new communication disruptor. Ready, sir. Targeting the Solari command frequency as Commander Trell suggested. Beside Walker, the Solari prisoner watched the approaching fleet with mixed emotions. Orax will begin with a demand for surrender, he said quietly. He enjoys the formality of it. As if on cue, all communication systems across Earth received the same transmission. Supreme Commander Orax's golden face appeared on screens worldwide. People of Earth, he began, his voice deep and cold. Your brief resistance has been noted, but it changes nothing. The Solari Empire has maintained peace in this galaxy for 3,000 years. Your rapid advancement threatens that peace. Surrender now, and some of your people may be permitted to live as servants of the Empire. Resist, and you will be erased from history. President Morgan stood in the Earth Command Center, her back straight as she faced the transmission. We decline your offer, Commander Orax. Humanity will not surrender its freedom or its future. Orax's shimmering eyes narrowed. Then you have chosen extinction. The transmission cut off. All ships, activate quantum fields. Walker ordered. Earth Defense Control, initiate planetary shields. Across the planet, and through the orbital defenses, the quantum field generators hummed to full power. Inside their chambers, 2 million volunteers felt their minds connect, forming a vast network that extended beyond normal spacetime. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Orax gave the order. Begin the attack. Target their major cities first. 1,000 Solari warships moved forward, their planet-killer weapons charging. The energy they were about to unleash could crack Earth's crust and boil its oceans. But something strange happened as they fired. Weapons that had annihilated entire civilizations suddenly misfired. Energy beams bent away from Earth, as if reality itself rejected them. Targeting systems that never failed suddenly showed impossible errors. What is happening? Orax demanded as reports of failures flooded in. It's the same technology they used at Mars, his science officer replied, but on a scale I didn't think possible. They're manipulating probability fields across the entire planet. On Earth, in the quantum chambers, the volunteers experienced something extraordinary. Their connected minds could see possibilities branching out like rivers, and they could choose which possibilities became real. They chose the ones where Solari weapons failed, where shields held, where the impossible became possible. Captain Walker watched in amazement as the first wave of the Solari attack achieved almost nothing. A few minor impacts on the moon, one small strike in an uninhabited region of Siberia, but Earth itself remained largely untouched. Now, he ordered, activate the communication disruptor. Dr. Reeves, monitoring the quantum network from her control station, directed the combined mental power of the volunteers toward the Solari communication frequency. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the Solari fleet, communication systems failed completely. Ships lost contact with each other and with their command centers. Orders couldn't be transmitted. Coordination became impossible. "They're in disarray," Walker observed. "All Earth ships commence attack pattern Omega." Earth's small fleet, enhanced by their own quantum fields, moved to engage the confused Solari warships. What should have been a hopeless battle turned into something else entirely. Human weapons found impossible weaknesses in Solari shields. Human ships dodged attacks that should have destroyed them. On the Eternal Dominion, Orax watched in growing rage as his perfect attack fell apart. "This is impossible," he roared. "No species can manipulate reality like this." "The humans can," Commander Trell had told Walker earlier. "And that is why Orax fears them." The Solari maintain peace through control of technology, of information, of power. But humans have discovered something that cannot be controlled. As the battle raged, the strain on the human volunteers grew. Nosebleeds became common. Some lost consciousness. The quantum field fluctuated as their minds struggled to maintain the connection. "We can't keep this up much longer," Dr. Reeves reported, her voice tense. "The volunteers are reaching their limits." Walker knew they needed to end this quickly. "Target the Eternal Dominion," he ordered. "All ships, all remaining weapons. Focus the quantum field there." The Defender and the remaining Earth ships turned toward the massive Solari flagship. The volunteers, sensing the critical moment, poured their remaining mental energy into creating one final, impossible probability. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Orax felt something change. The ship shuddered as systems began failing one after another. "Supreme Commander," his second reported, "something is happening to the main reactor. The containment fields are failing in ways that should not be possible." Orax understood then. The humans weren't just lucky, they were rewriting the rules of reality itself. "Prepare my escape vessel," he ordered. But it was too late. The quantum field had created a cascade effect in the flagship's power systems. Energy readings spiked to impossible levels. From the Defender, Walker watched as the massive Solari flagship began to glow from within, energy building to levels that couldn't be contained. "All Earth ships, retreat to safe distance," he ordered. "Quantum field users, focus on protecting Earth from the blast." The Eternal Dominion exploded with the force of a small sun. The shockwave ripped through the Solari fleet, destroying hundreds of ships and damaging thousands more. The remaining Solari vessels, leaderless and in shock, began to retreat. On Earth, the quantum network finally collapsed as the volunteers reached their physical limits. Many would need medical attention, but they had held long enough. In the aftermath, as the surviving Solari ships fled the solar system, Captain Walker stood on the observation deck of the Defender, looking down at the blue planet they had somehow managed to save. Commander Trell joined him, no longer a prisoner but a witness to history. "The war is not over," he said quietly, "but it has changed forever." Walker nodded. The Solari ruled through fear of their overwhelming power. Now that power has been challenged. "More than challenged," Trell replied. "What your people did today will echo across the galaxy. The species that bent reality. The humans who defeated the undefeatable." He turned to face Walker. "The 3,000-year peace has ended, yes, but perhaps something better can now begin." 3 weeks later, a Solari diplomatic vessel entered Earth orbit under a flag of truce. The new Solari leadership, shaken by the unprecedented defeat, had come to negotiate. As President Morgan prepared to meet with them, she visited one of the hospitals where the quantum volunteers were recovering. One young woman, still weak from her experience, asked the question everyone wanted to know. "Did we win?" The president smiled. "Yes. But more importantly, we showed the galaxy something they never expected. They thought declaring war on humanity would be the end of us." She shook her head in wonder. Oops, there goes humanity, changing the impossible again. Outside, the stars shined a little differently now. Among them, a legend was being born. The legend of the species that had looked at the laws of probability and said, "These don't work for us. Let's try something new." The 3,000-year peace had ended, but humanity's story was just beginning.